Israel in the Galilee. On the 19th of July, it's a Wednesday, it's 10:12 in the morning. We might be in for a relief slight from the heat wave. We're at 89 degrees now. They're looking at it changes every couple hours. This is crazy. We're looking at 99 or so as a high and a low of 77. Now, about 20-30 minutes ago, they had the same high of about 99 and they had a low of 72. The chances of rain are negligible, 8%, 10%, pretty. They'll always give you something, but. And it was showing us that we'd have more temperate weather down the road. Now it's showing us we're not. It's showing us that Tiberius is going to hit like 106 today, tomorrow, the day after, then 105, then 108 on Sunday and Monday, 107, 108, 108, 108. Now, we'll normally come in, if it's 108, we'll probably be 102, 103. So the future looks dismal. The weirdness with this is August is the hottest month of the year in Israel, year after year after year after year. And it'll get like this in August. But now we're seeing it get like this in July, early July actually it's starting. And that's weird. Then what's going to happen in August? Is it going to be cool or is it going to get hotter? I don't know. This is my Israeli rendition of Gatorade. It is Gatorade. And it's orange flavor. It's quite tasty. I just do it for electrolytes. Because when you're slightly sweating all the time, you know, all day, all night, you lose your electrolytes. So the air conditioner is in the wall now. That's, these are called splits. There's two units. There's a inside the room unit, and then outside the room you have, on the wall or the roof, you have the actual air conditioner compressor, motor, and so forth. Yafa's sitting right here at my feet thinking I might eat something, and she wants to make sure she gets a shot at it, I'm pretty good to them. So, yeah, let's take a look at the chat, see what's happening there. The chat, the live stream, whatever you want to call it. People are coming in now at the live stream, so they don't really want any new people to see my broadcasts as far as I could tell. Okay, let me do a little housekeeping here while we wait for people to come in, which is, when I say a little, I mean a little. There's a lot of things going on in the world and in the Middle East especially that are weird, and they're wartime type events, and they're kind of unusual, and we'll try to look at some of those and try to get a hypothesis about what's going on biblically and in the secular realm. Okay, I pinned up at the top of the chat offering information, and I put my email address in the chat highlighted in yellow. Also in the description box under the video, I have links that are working for the offerings for Patreon and GoFundMe, and at the very bottom I have my email address in there, which is israelgiving with the number 7@gmail.com. Okay, so let's do our praise. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay. I wonder what that noise was. There's no dogs outside. Could be one in the room, I don't know. Anyway, my wife's on the way to pick up our car from getting the expensive hose repair job. And in the afternoon I'm supposed to have the installer return to put the finish the installation, which should mostly be outside of the house, but I do not believe it'll interfere with the broadcast. You'll be here in the afternoon hours, not. And right now it's like 10:20. You probably won't be here till 1, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock even. I don't think he's got a great deal of work left, but we'll see. He had to get some copper pipes, which is weird because they send you a kit. Well, they don't send you a kit. They send you the complete air conditioner, and it comes in 2 boxes. One box is your roof unit, and the other box is your in the room unit. And they were both sealed, and they looked fine. But I guess for some reason, this is a guy we use a lot. He does excellent work, so he probably figures we're better off with copper pipes than the PVC or whatever. I don't know. He put an exhaust fan in my bathroom in the window, so to do it in the window, we had to take the window out, buy a piece of plastic that looks like the window, and have a hole made in there for the little fan. He did all that. And the fan is supposed to go on when you turn the light on. And as far as I can tell, in my old decrepit condition, that fan is on all the time. So he'll have to take a look at that if the light's on or off. You can't really leave the window open in the bathroom because it goes out to the yard area. And when you leave it open, you get various, living things come into the bathroom. Not animals, different kinds of bugs, including but not limited to moths. And I have a lot of hats, and I don't like to see moths eat the hats. They're crazy. I found moths inside roll of toilet paper, like eating toilet paper. Unused, of course. I don't know, but anyway, I don't want them in the house. I lost a really good wool shirt to them a few years ago. A Pendleton wool shirt was really hard to come across, and I lost that. Nice big holes. So I hate those things. So you get a lot of them coming into the bathroom. They usually never go out of the bathroom, but When I keep the window closed, I don't get them at all. And when the weather gets very hot, some of the bugs try to come in here. A lot of times I get cockroaches that look like they're getting sick, usually from the hot weather or something, and they crawl in here and they lay on their back and die. They come here for the happy hunting grounds. I imagine the other cockroaches out in the yard world, if they see one of their own get sick, they'll kill and eat it or something. I'm guessing that's what that is. I don't know. But when I keep the window closed, I don't get any of that. And Rivka goes nuts if she sees a cockroach in the house. She starts cleaning everything. All this work, you know. And I try to explain to her it's not that the house is dirty. They're trying to come in from the heat, and they're sick. And they're trying to recover, and that's what's going on. And she doesn't quite get it, you know. So when I keep the window closed, guess what? No cockroaches, you know. It's nicer. And I don't get moths, and I don't get mosquitoes, and we really don't have a lot of mosquitoes. I don't get flies, I don't get anything. So with the fan, they're not going to come in through the fan. It's going to require, they see the fan as some sort of a solid, or they're not going to try to go through it, you know, especially since the wind or something usually keeps it moving. So by having an exhaust fan, it wouldn't be too bad. So when you take a shower in the summer, it gets the place really hot with the window closed. So, of course, if it's 102 degrees out, it's going to get really hot from that. So it's just hard to live here. I resolved myself to just asking the Lord to enable me to have peace, joy, and relaxation in the middle of all these harsh living conditions that I have. Appreciate it if you pray for that too for me. Also, I got some skin stuff that was growing here, and I prayed about it, and two of the little ones went away, and the other one, the bigger one, is slowly diminishing, but there's some skin discoloration that, you know, I'm not that worried about. My wife keeps getting all upset about it, you know, and I know it's not anything. But please pray that the skin stuff and the growth goes away quickly. It's healing, but pray it gets better quickly. I appreciate that. So what in the world's going on last night in Israel is we attacked Iranian positions in Syria again. Syria is claiming to have shot down our missiles. So apparently planes flew and fired missiles into Syria, Damascus. Yes, there is a prophecy, Damascus shall be a ruinous heap. We did not make it into a ruinous heap last night, but we did shoot rockets in there, attempting to hit IRGC Iranian supplies and things like that. 2 Syrian soldiers were wounded last night. I don't think there were any deaths. And Syria always says that they shot down some of our missiles. I seriously doubt they ever shoot any of them down, unless it's a mistake and one of our missiles just flies into one of their anti-missile missiles or something. You know. They're usually 2 or 3 or 4 generations behind us in their weapons, so they don't have much. And they're screaming and yelling. And now we find out that America's bringing more heavy armament into, that's a jet. That's a fighter. That could be an F-35, or it could be an F-16. I'm leaning towards F-35. The other day I heard something shrieking over the house. You know, jets make what's called a rumble. This thing was more like a siren, you know, going over the house. And I don't know what the heck it was. It could have been some aircraft that I'm unfamiliar with, which I doubt. Because they don't have that many different planes here in Israel. And it might have been some sort of missile they fired, but the likely candidate for missile would have been Syria. But I didn't hear anything about it, so I don't know what it was. We used to see people with paramotor things. That's like a parachute thing with a motor on it. And I think they were soldiers doing surveillance. But I haven't seen one of those in 2 years. I guess they knocked it off. They're apparently rather dangerous because if the winds or drafts or some pilot error happens, they could tilt and the parachute could collapse and you come tumbling down. In which case a sane person would pull the ripcord for their backup parachute, but not everyone has a backup parachute. And the backup parachute is only going to work if you have enough elevation for the chute to open and cushion you fall. Now, what the height limit of that is, I don't know, but it might be 500 feet or 1,500 feet. I have no idea. You know. Some of the ultralights that they make have a body, a fuselage, and they have some have two motors. Some of them can go 350 miles an hour. Now, these ultralights are the kind you have to get FAA approval and you have to get a license to fly the thing. I don't think you need a regular, maybe just a private pilot license is enough, I don't know. But I still think you're restricted as to where you can fly the thing. But anyway, the small ones, they usually go 50, 60 miles an hour. They don't require a license of any sort for the equipment or the person flying it. I believe the manufacturer has to get it approved for no licensed flight. But you can't go anywhere. You can't go into populated areas and stuff like this, you know. And I think the people that fly these to a great extent are death wish people. Because they're so dangerous. I see videos of this on YouTube with some character that takes his up 10,000 feet. Why in God's green earth would somebody want to go 10,000 feet high, sitting on a little seat made out of straps, with some straps to a parachute over your head, and a motor? Well, I don't know. This character makes videos of himself going for like Pizza Hut and stuff like that in rural areas with this parasail or motor thing and landing in the parking lot behind or vacant lot behind the Pizza Hut or whatever it was, and then he gets the food and then he brings food up in the plane in the para motor thing with him. It's crazy, you know. So Israel just getting today another 3 F-35s. They're being flown from Texas. 3 of them, now this is odd, 3 of them were flying with 2 tankers with them so they could refuel. And they got someplace in the Mediterranean, I don't remember where, and they landed there to take a pit stop. So probably they had so many hours of flight and they needed a rest, or they wanted the Air Force or whoever, maybe the delivery service, whatever, wanted them to have a rest, so they probably stopped for a couple hours, and they got something to eat, washed up, went to the bathroom, made phone calls, did their email, whatever they could do, had some coffee, and then went back on the plane, and you probably had anywhere from 3 to 4 hours remaining flight time to get to Israel, so they're probably in Israel by now, and it shortly will be. But these planes are not normally pushed into service right away, normally, because we retrofit them. It takes about a month. We put different pieces of equipment in the planes. One of the things, there's a lot of stuff, they're not going to tell you what they put in the plane, but some of the stuff that they talk about is the Elbit helmet, which is not really just a helmet, it's quite an elaborate thing. It enables the pilot to have 360-degree vision when he's working his weapons systems, navigation, whatever the pilot is doing. He has 360-degree visibility, so he's looking this way, but he sees what's behind his head and his sides. It's like $1 million helmet or something like that. America buys them from Elbit. That's an Israeli company that makes defense products. And they're supposed to be fantastic. So you got to hook those up, which is no mean feat. But we do other things to them, and we get exemptions from America, so we can do our own maintenance on them because they're so highly modified, I believe, that they don't want to let them go out to America, because the people in America wouldn't know how to work on them. So we do them here. We do the maintenance here, and I think we're the only country that's allowed to do that owns F-35s. So it was quite an elaborate thing to deliver the planes this way, but maybe that's the norm. I don't know. Probably the norm. So we just got another 3. It also could mean we're getting rush deliveries, and we might get another 3 and another 3 and another 3. I don't know. So we did attack Syria last night. Now, Iran and Russia are on the outs right now. They're not, they haven't stopped talking to each other. They're not, going to war. They're not threatening each other. But they had a falling out. Let me get some of this news for you. And this is really interesting that they have a falling out. There was a decision regarding a conference with the participation of Arab countries and Russia. Now, this conference called for a solution to the problem of 3 islands in the Straits of Hormuz through negotiations. So Russia wanted the solution of this dispute on 3 islands in the Straits of Hormuz settled by negotiation, which is normally going to mean compromise. According to the Iranians, the islands are an inseparable part of Iran, and there will not be any negotiations about them. In addition, the Iranians are saying that they recognize the territorial integrity of Ukraine and that the war must end immediately. So, for Iran to open their mouth and tell Putin the war in Ukraine has to end immediately, and they recognize their territory, is very different type of thing we're getting out of Iran that we haven't really seen before. Let me move you over, Yafi, okay. And that's Putin's not going to enjoy that. So, normally when you start seeing junk like this happen, you can get three reactions. One is Putin could get really angry at Iran because he's cocky and arrogant. That would be very bad for Iran. I mean, really bad. Okay? They could keep Iran out of BRICS. Russia could probably arrange that. The other thing is Iran could get worse about Russia and crack off more. It could get worse. And then the other thing is one or both of them could just calm down and the whole thing blows over, which I think is what's going to happen. I don't think either one of these bozos is interested in having a big problem like that. Okay, Israel, so now we got America in Syria with HIMARS missiles, artillery, all kinds of stuff, bringing American troops in there, inside Syria. And at the same time, Turkey's got troops inside Syria, up in the northeast, fighting against the Kurds. That's where the oil fields are heavily located in the northeast of Syria. He's on the other side of the Euphrates River, Turkey, Erdogan. So it doesn't, just for general interest, it's not Greater Israel they're fighting it. Okay. So, why is America there? Well, one really good reason is they want Iran and Russia to not be comfortable there, and ultimately they want them out. Why? Because Russia has a big Navy installation at the city of Latakia, which is, got another jet. That sounds F-16-ish. They don't want Russia having a Navy base in the Mediterranean because it will give NATO a much more extensive problem eradicating the Russian military. So they want that to come to an end. So Russia wants America locating troops in Syria to come to an end. So we have a potential clash here. Iran wants America out of Syria. Bashar Assad, the head of the Syrian government, wants America out of Syria. He's the legitimate, so to speak, authority recognized by the UN and the other countries. So America is really going against the grain here. a little spiritual warfare there. I think it was needed. So, ISIS is now running around in uh, Syria, and I would expect ISIS is, I don't know who the heck ISIS is friends with over there. You could go to the bank that ISIS and America are not getting along. ISIS and Bashar Assad, the head of Syria, the dictator as they refer to him, they're not getting along. Russia and ISIS don't get along. I don't believe Iran, I don't know who the heck they're getting along with. I don't know what they're trying to do. They're there for a reason. I don't know what, it's getting crazy in Syria. Believe me, it's getting crazy. It's turning into a big, confusing war zone. Erdogan, Turkey, is fighting in Syria against Kurds. Bashar Assad is apparently fighting against ISIS, fighting against America in Syria, and I don't know who the heck else. Rebels that want to overthrow his government. He's fighting against them. Then you've got Israel attacking the Iranian operation in Syria. You got Russia in Syria helping Bashar Assad run the Americans out along with Iran. I mean, isn't this bizarre? It's bizarre, really. I mean, this is not normal, typical stuff. This is out there in Gaga land stuff, but it's right in our face and it's real there. It's really going on. And what is this? I don't get it. But it has it's end times. They're operating with a delusion. And it has great potential to open up another theater of conflict, a war. But this is so nuts. You've got different entities fighting different entities. It's crazy. I mean, it's like, what? Okay, so this is like a real end times event. You don't see this kind of craziness very often. Or really, I don't recall ever seeing anything as crazy as this before. This is super crazy. I don't get it. Now America has sent a nuclear submarine to South Korea for the first time since, I don't have the exact date. Somebody said 81, somebody said the 80s. It's been a long time since we sent the nuclear submarine to South Korea. Now, this so-called nuclear submarine is a nuclear-powered submarine. And it has missile silos, on the deck. They open up the hatch and, missiles come out. And they supposedly can shove the missile out from about 40 feet below the surface. I guess it has compressed gases or something, and it projects the missile up. When it breaks the surface and clears the water, the regular motors kick in and it starts on its trajectory. So, do I think the Chinese have an ability to stop, prevent, or counter this missile attack coming from 40 feet under the water from one of our submarines? The chances of them being able to stop it, I would say, is slim and none. Probably none and none. I don't think they have the technology. I don't think anybody has that technology except the American allies, like possibly France, Germany, and the UK, and more advanced countries have a capability to counter that kind of an attack. But does North Korea or China? No, I don't think so. I think that's why America sent the submarine over there, because they have no countermeasures to stop or impede such an attack. Now, it's limited because usually the thing has about 16 missile silos, tubes, whatever you want to call them, and they could reload it a few times, but that's it. So it's not carrying 300 missiles or anything like that. Now, they could have a supply ship in the region, as dangerous as it may be, that has 400 or 500 missiles on it, Imagine you be the lucky guy in the Navy that gets to work on a boat carrying 500 missiles. Possibly the missiles won't explode unless they get activated, but I think we're dreaming here. I think they'll explode. If they get hit, if the boat carrying them gets hit by missiles or artillery or torpedoes, I think the missiles will that be the end of the ship and the unfortunate people on the ship. So anyway, the same with a refueling ship, you know. So this is apparently an impressive event, and the sister of the dictator of North Korea, the guy with the funny haircuts that nobody else is allowed to have in North Korea. Imagine the lunacy of this character. When you go to the barber shop in North Korea, you can check this out on Google. They have like a, I don't know, a board, you know, with pictures of different haircuts, and there's a few different haircuts the men are allowed to get, and that's it. And you can't have a haircut like his. Now, I don't really understand that unless he's so narcissistic and weird that he's... Anyway, it's not worth delving into. He's, you know, he's like the Planters Peanuts figure, you know, Mr. Peanut, whatever they call him, a nut, you know, he's a nut. All right, so the sister sends a threatening message to the Americans yesterday, I believe it was. Only in your dreams are you gonna, you know, control or take out North Korea, words to that effect. Only in your dreams. I think that messages like this are completely wasted on the likes of Jake Sullivan and Blinken and those people. They don't Mark Miley and them. They don't pay attention to things like that, you know. They did some missile tests yesterday, I believe. It wasn't today, I believe it was yesterday. That came close to hitting Japan. So this little dweeb likes to sit there and develop missiles and launch missiles near South Korea and Japan and cause them to put the sirens on and go to the bomb shelter. I think he gets off on it. You know, he makes them feel like, oh, like Tarzan in the jungle, you know. You know, the Tarzan in the jungle is a perfect example of the way the unclean spirits want to influence people. Jane's in the jungle. She falls in love with Tarzan. They have a kid named Boy. Great name, Boy. Better than the Johnny Cash song, The Boy Named Sue. They just stopped with Boy. They didn't call him Sue. But anyway, then they got a chimpanzee named Cheetah, who I always enjoyed as a young kid. And, you know, Johnny Weissmuller goes running around and swinging on the vines and going from vine to vine, which to me is only an idiot would do that because you don't have any idea if the vine is going to support your body weight. You know, orangutans and different monkeys do stuff like that. They don't weigh as much as Johnny Weissmuller, who was an Olympic swimming champion, and he was something like 6'3", 6'4". This was a big, strapping guy. Johnny Weissmuller would wear a suit jacket that was probably, I think, something like 54 or something. He had a huge chest. This was a big man. Okay, he had to be over 200 pounds. Solid muscle, this guy, you know. He had a very unfortunate ending. He worked up at the Grossinger's Hotel in the Catskill Mountains, and he was there like as a lifeguard. They basically hired him because he was a broken down celebrity, and he made a lot of movies in the 30s, and even into the 40s and 50s he was making movies. And I believe in the 60s they had him there, maybe the early or mid 60s, probably the earlier 60s. I knew a guy that worked up there as a cook. He made pastry and cakes and stuff like that. Grossinger's was a 5-star hotel in the Jewish Borscht Belt in the Catskill Mountains. I never stayed at Grossinger's. It was an expensive hotel. My parents took me once to a hotel across the road from Grossinger's, literally, and we'd look out at Grossinger's. I was in this little dumpy hotel, and Grossinger's was over there. Grossinger's had its own airstrip. It had a 18-hole golf course. It had indoor pools, outdoor pools, crackerjack, first-class Hollywood entertainers performing there all the time. Gourmet food, beautiful rooms. You know, the Catskill Mountains is about 100 miles from New York City. It would be, I drove it in about an hour and 20 minutes once, but I was doing it late at night and I was driving 100 miles an hour. But normally it'd be about a 2-hour drive. When my parents would go up there for vacations, they took me, talking back early 50s into the 60s, we went there like every year. My mother would plan the trip 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month even in advance, a long time. And we'd be shopping for bathing suits. We'd be shopping for pool toys, like, flotation devices you blow up. You know, I'm a little kid now, so. I'm thinking what else we went shopping for, I don't remember. Then my parents would say, it was a big push to always read as a kid. The teachers, because they wanted you to go to college and be a doctor or a lawyer or something. So they would push reading because all the teachers would say, just have them read anything. It doesn't matter what they read. They can read magazines, books about baseball, books about basketball. It doesn't matter. Just keep them reading. So comic books, what about comic books? Yeah, comic books are fine. Just read. So I had stacks of comic books, right? And I had good ones. And I went to college. She threw them out. I had like number 1 or 2 Batman, number 2 or 3 Superman. I had really good comics. Not that good, maybe. I don't remember. I remember I had really good baseball cards too. She threw them away when I went to college. What do you do, So I get cardboard boxes full of comic books to take up with me, like, 150 comics. I'd get baseball gloves, bats, balls, softballs, baseballs, hats, different outfits, long pants, short pants, jackets. She'd pack everything up. She used to call me in to sit on the suitcase so she could see if it would close. It was just a big production. You would think they were flying to Italy for vacation on the Italian Riviera, right? So then the day came when we'd leave. So we'd get up early in the morning and she had coolers packed with food for, this is a 2-hour trip, 2.5 in horrible traffic, okay? Nothing, right? Nothing, okay? And, my father would have the car gassed up the day before, have it tuned up and everything, right? We're talking a 1954 Pontiac Star Chief here. Before that, it was a 1948 Studebaker. I can't remember the model. But So we're in the Star Chief. It had the Indian head on the hood that was amber, and I think it lit up or it didn't light up. I don't remember, but it was amber. And it had a back seat. Nobody had seat belts then. And on the back of the front seat, they had a rope you can stand up and hang on. You know, I'm a little kid. Like, we'd go under an underpass, and my father would say, "You better duck," and I would duck down. And I was that small, right? And we'd go up there, and we'd see cows, and, you know, we'd count the cows, you know. But, I mean, this was a massive trip for them. So they'd be packing the trunk of the car, and the trunk of the cars was so big back then, you know, we had a full-size car. It wasn't a luxury car like an Olds 98 or a Buick Deuce and a Quarter or a Cadillac. It was a big car. And you would put, you could probably put a Volkswagen in the trunk of this car. I'm just kidding. So she stacked the car with suitcases. These are the old hard-walled suitcases that they looked like they were made out of straw. No soft wall or anything like that. No trunks. I don't know how many suitcases. Quite a few suitcases. And all kinds of food. For a 2.5-hour trip, what do you need food for? It wouldn't be maybe 2 hours, right? So we'd get in the car finally, and we'd start the trip. So I'd be in the back seat with her, and my father would be driving the car, right? And then we stopped once or twice along the way. It was crazy, you know, crazy. So then we'd finally get there, and we'd get to the hotel and check in, and then you had to schlep all this stuff up to the room. They had bellhops that would do that for you. And then they used to get rooms that had a shared bathroom. We wouldn't get a private bath. I hated that. The room would have a sink in it, so that was helpful. You could get water, you could wash your hands and your face. But the shower and the toilet were shared. It was lunatic, you know, but that's how they did it. And with one other room. And they had cheaper rooms where you shared it with like 6 or 8 rooms. And all they did is they cleaned the toilets once a day, I believe. And they had a maid that would clean the room. And so anyway, you know, we'd be up there. Now, well, anyway, this time I'm across the street from Grossinger's in that hotel. They used to use another hotel called Kramer's. And this time they deviated. So Johnny Weissmuller was working there as a lifeguard, and there was just so the rich guests could see him, get a picture, get an autograph or something like that, and he was just drunk, you know. Poor guy, Andy Debbie. So they make a theme, Jane's with Tarzan, they're living in a treehouse with Boy and Cheetah, and whenever there's any trouble, Tarzan's swinging on these vines, which is absurd. Anybody trying that would get killed sooner or later, much sooner than later. And, you know, he's wrestling, 12-foot crocodiles, and he had something along the lines of a Bowie knife, a pretty big knife, probably a 10 or 12-inch blade, and sitting there hacking up the alligators, you know, which could imagine if they tried that today. It wasn't a real alligator. They had a dummy alligator, and he's sitting there holding onto it or wrestling it in the water. He was quite the swimmer, this guy. Quite the swimmer. He made a movie before they had movie censorship. And he was in this movie buck naked with another woman. 2 of them were buck naked swinging around on the screen. That was in the 30s, before they had any censorship. And that's the kind of guy he was. So anyway, he... the theme is, I'm going to rely on my man, Tarzan. He talks to the animals, and the animals save us. But if he talks to the animals, why is he always killing lions, leopards, jaguars, and alligators and other things? My wife's not here. I got to check to see if there's anything important. That was the installer. He's telling me he'll be here in the afternoon, which he already told my wife. I guess he's just telling me. We had an internet outage yesterday, and I used the WhatsApp to complain to them, and I don't know, it seems, I'm pretty sure it was a regional outage, but anyway, it was, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes it came back. I wonder if I had anything to do with it, I don't know. They were communicating with me in Hebrew, and I didn't quite get the complete drift of the Hebrew, so I didn't. Anyway, the theme they're presenting to the people is rely on man, Tarzan, okay? Speaking from experience, Tarzan would get old. How the heck is he going to jump out of the treehouse when he's 70 years old or 80 years old or whatever? What about Jane? And what are they going to do? Keep boy in the treehouse, no schooling, no education, no books, no... What are they going to... You know, the whole thing is an absurd theme, but this is how they're presenting things to people. You know, he communicates with the animals, he goes, oh, and they all come. He calls the elephants to help him. But why do the lions and the leopards and the jaguars and the alligators or the crocodiles attack him, yet the other animals help him? It's quite illogical, but I guess I'm talking like Dr. Spock. So these are the kind of themes that they present to you. So anyway, the situation in Syria, to tell you it's going to explode, is not accurate. It has exploded. Russia's bringing more forces, troops, equipment in there. Iran is. Israel's attacking what Iran is doing. Is it only a matter of time till Israel attacks Russia in Syria? Is it only a matter of time until Russia reaches a decision that they don't want Israel attacking Iran and Syria, or Syria itself, and starts fighting against us? Or are they just hanging back, trying to maintain some sort of ridiculous political posturing so Israel doesn't start helping Ukraine? Israel is very reluctant to help Ukraine. Israel doesn't want to get into this thing with Russia. The fact that there's hundreds of thousands of Jews in Ukraine doesn't really bother Israel, because they just let them come here and immigrate. But then the ultra-Orthodox discriminate against a lot of them and saying they're not Jewish enough for whatever reason. And then they don't get in. And then the ones that get in, most of them left. They stayed here a few months. They said, this place is ridiculous. What the heck do I want to be here for? I could 100% understand why they feel that way. The Israeli people today are not warm and welcoming to them. 30, 35 years ago, it was completely different. Then along comes this abomination called Netanyahu. You know, and I jokingly say Goliath would be a better prime minister for the Israeli people than Netanyahu. And he comes along and he wrecks Aliyah to keep the Jews out of Israel. He's got an agenda that's pretty sick, and he certainly doesn't verbalize to the people his real agenda when you look at his actions. So he's really messed up right now, too. The protests are going nuts. They started shutting the trains down yesterday. They were buying train tickets and blocking the tracks and the train. You know, they were really shutting the country down and harassing it. Now, the protesters are starting to go after the ultra-Orthodox. And people that write in the media in Israel, not social media, the media, the real legit media, if there is such a thing, they're saying this is close to going to bloodshed, not just against the Orthodox, but against the government. More and more military reservists are saying they're not going to report for duty anymore. Now, they're also saying, they said this in the past, and I'm sure they're saying it again, but they're not going to verbalize it too much, is if it's needed in a real emergency, they'll show up for duty, but they're not going to come in for training. So if Gaza attacks or Hezbollah attacks, they'll report for duty. Netanyahu and his party have not threatened them with prison or anything like that. What this jackass Netanyahu is doing is telling them that they are undemocratic. Well, what this nincompoop Netanyahu did was runs for office as prime minister, does not tell the people that he's going to weaken the justice system so that he can become tantamount to a dictator. And does it. Well, his logic is they voted for me so I can do what I want. That's the sick thing about these democracies. The leaders believe that. Netanyahu is saying I could lie, cheat, deceive, and confuse the public, and then when I get in, I do what I want. And I'm talking to, Israelis that they're not believers, and their eyes aren't really that wide open. They know that all Netanyahu is trying to do is stay out of jail. And they're really mad about this. And Netanyahu making a right-wing coalition, which is what he says he's doing. In reality, he did. But he's not right-wing. And he keeps trying to steer the ship. Now, this is what happened, I believe, yesterday. Or maybe it's over yesterday and the day before, 2 days in a row. Let me explain what happened. Herzog goes to see Joe Biden, the President of the United States, physically. Get on an airplane, fly over. And he went because Biden invited him. Now, Herzog is the President of Israel. He is not on Netanyahu's party, not on his ticket, we would say in America, right? He's not on his ticket. He's not in the coalition with Netanyahu. He's not a Netanyahu guy. His power is something like the Secretary of State in the United States, except the Secretary of State can be fired by the President. This President in Israel runs on a 5-year term on an independent ticket, on an independent election. So can Netanyahu fire him? No, nobody can fire him. He's an elected official. You can't fire him. Okay? So why did Biden call him over there instead of Netanyahu? Well, Biden sees Netanyahu as, look, let's call it openly. Biden and his advisors, people see Biden as dementia, senility, and okay, but his advisors, Jake Sullivan, Blinken, Mark Meyer, these are not senile, demented people. These are, fairly bright people. And they look at the situation in Israel, and they realize that this Netanyahu crackpot is just trying to keep himself out of jail, and he is willing to throw the whole Israel and the whole Middle East into turmoil to do so. Biden doesn't ever want to see that happen. Biden likes the status quo. He would like it even more if the Palestinians and Gaza, Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and all that, if they stopped their terrorism, he would like it more, and then he would lean on Israel to give them more civil rights and financial assistance and stuff like that. That's the way Biden would like to play it. He doesn't enjoy the terrorism because it's a threat to explode and rip the Middle East up. He don't want that. He does not want things to change. I say this and I'll say it again. If you're living in America or the UK or any country around the world that has a lot of wealth, or you have a lot of wealth, and you have, your mansions, several mansions, 40 servants, you have all kinds of investments, you can support your family, your kids' family, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, your great-great-grandchildren, family for many generations. You have what's called generational wealth, which is usually something like $200, $300, $400 million, or a third of $1 billion should usually do it, like $300 million. And you've got all kinds of investments. You go to these big investment Wall Street houses, and they put you in a diversity of things, like you're in real estate, you're in commodities, you're in different currencies. You're holding currencies. You're holding some gold. You're holding some silver. You're buying all different kinds of things, franchises. So it's short of war or grievous extreme natural catastrophes, you are not going to suffer. You're always going to have your wealth. Even if a country goes out, you're going to be divested or invested in many different nations and stuff. So it takes extremeness to get these people wiped out, and they know that. And they don't understand Jeremiah 30:11, where God will annihilate all the nations that he sent to disperse the Jews into, which is about 100 nations. So no, their money is not going to survive, but they don't know that, nor they believe that. So they got their jets. Some of them have 2-3 jets. Some of them have not just one yacht, 2 or 3 yachts. Okay, I saw a woman do a cruise show on YouTube. She says, I just got back from sailing the $1 billion, what was the name of the boat? Viking, I think. I don't know, one of the cruise line boats, I can't recall the name. And it cost $1 billion. It used to be that the big cruise boats, which were 140, 150,000 tons, and that 140, 244,000 tons, were $300 million. Now they're putting amusement parks on these cruise ships. I don't know what the heck that costs. They've got roller coasters. They have go-kart tracks on multi-levels. They got rock climbing walls. They got zip lines. They build bars on the side of the boat over the water. You go in, you sit down. I think they might even have sandwiches, or it may even be a restaurant at night. And the thing goes up and down something like 80 feet while the boat's moving and you're over the water. And it's a big room. It's not, like you're sitting in a little thing. They might have, 60, 70 people in this room. A big room. It's got a bar and stuff in there. Maybe it's just drinks. And some of these boats got ice skating rinks. Literally, they got ice skating rinks. They have ice skating shows. But they've gotten crazy with what they got now. Wave riders, where they have a pool with a wave and you get on a board and they try to teach you how to do it. They got basketball courts. They got the golf driving practice things with nets. They no longer do skeet shooting. In the 70s and 60s, skeet shooting was a big thing on the boat. They don't do that anymore. I don't see tennis. I don't see handball. No baseball, no basketball. That's what I see. They got gambling casinos on most of the boats, not all of them. Disney doesn't have it. They have shows with gymnasts, like circus shows, going up on ropes, maybe 40, 50 feet in the air. They got lasers, they got explosions, gas, smoke, and lights, and all crazy things, orchestras. You rarely ever get a name brand entertainer on these boats. That's extremely rare, but they're talented. They're just not famous, but they're talented. They're never going to be anywhere, but they make a decent living. And they're like crazy places, and it's $1 billion boat. Well, there's people that have yachts that cost $1 billion just for their own use. Where you look at this $1 billion cruise ship, you probably have at least 3,500 guests and 1,500 staff. So you got about 5,000 people. And these guys spend $1 billion on their own yacht. Okay, so some of them have multiple yachts. Some of them, like Bezos, have a yacht, and they have a smaller yacht that follows the big yacht, which has overflow guests on it and more supplies. They got helicopters. They live all over the world. And they don't have any money problems. Now, why would they want change? They don't. They have nowhere to go. I saw Stallone once. He was saying, I don't have any more goals to reach. He hit it all with his movies. I mean, look at how many franchises this character had. The Rambo, Rocky, Creed. He's got a TV show, Tulsa or something. He has another thing where he has his family on TV. He must be a billionaire. Where's he going to go? He can go buy palaces and castles in Europe. The guy probably doesn't want to live in palaces and castles, Some of these people, what they do, if they go to New York a lot, they'll buy a, 3,000 square foot apartment in New York in some exclusive building, well protected, for, $6 or $10 million or something. And they don't really live there, they just use it when they go to New York. Maybe they've got business meetings, they might go shopping, they want to go see plays, or some reason they're meeting people, they go to New York and they have that, So they're not going to buy a $40 million place. They're going to buy something that they can furnish nicely and they can just use it when they need to, and they'll leave a maid in there or maybe another person to take care of the place when they're not there or something like that. That's about it. Probably have a maid live there and just keep an eye on the place, Handle deliveries if they get things delivered there or whatever, Okay, so, they do stuff like that. That's not really one of their places to live. That's their hotel room. So they'll spend, $6-8 million so they don't have to stay in a hotel. Some of them don't want to stay in hotels because you check into the hotel and you don't know who was there before you. Somebody could have been there before you that had the flu or a cold or a cough or something else. They could have some dread disease and you don't know any of this, right? So some of these characters send staff ahead of them if they're going to stay in a hotel. And the staff will come like 2 days ahead of them, and the staff will sanitize the hotel room with germ killers, right? The corporate guys can do this too. They have a staff that goes ahead of them, and they'll spray the germ killers on all the furnishings, the tables, the light switches, the floor, and they'll sanitize the whole place, right? And they bring their own pillows, they bring their own comforters, and they bring their own towels and their own bedding. So the staff changes the bedding, puts their own bedding on there. They use their own towels, their own blankets, And then they let the room, of course, they let the room sit with no one in it for 2 days to give the germs a chance to be gone. And they probably spray the carpets, and they clean the bathroom and all of that stuff. So they get the closets, they sanitize the whole place. Then they come. Because they're afraid, they don't know, they don't like living like that. Now, we don't give it a second thought. But I went on cruise ships and caught colds. Twice, I think, once or twice. I did once, I went to Disney World, and I think I was feeling fine then. I got there, and then I got a cold by the second day. And you see, somebody could have been in your hotel room before you, and they were sick and coughing and sneezing, and they're spreading germs all over the place, right? And they leave the room at, 10 o'clock in the morning, and you check in at 1. Well, they don't sanitize the room or wipe it down. Well, the germs are all there, and you have no idea, and there you go. You're using the same pillows as them, the same comforter. See my point? Think about it. And it happened to me on a cruise ship. Now, I got sick on a cruise ship once, and I did it. I was out laying on the deck in the sun, and I fell asleep. And normally I could take 45 minutes in the sun. On cruise ships, the sun is very intense because it bounces off the water and gets you, and it also gets you from above. So you're getting hit from in front of you, you're getting hit from the left side, the right side, or what do you say, starboard or whatever, I don't know, left and right. And you're getting it, you could even be getting it, usually not from a fourth direction, but it's either going to be you're going to be blocked from the rear or from the front or something. You're not going to get it you get it from 3 directions, so. And I got really sunburned. So I went and got some stuff. They sold me aloe vera or something in a gift shop, and that was really good. But it was making me hot, and I was going into the room like an idiot and standing under the air conditioner vent with no shirt on, getting the cold air on me, and of course I got sick. But that I did. That I know. But other times, I remember getting sick going in the room, and I didn't know why I got sick, and it was probably from that. So if I was going to go do a hotel room or something like that again in this day and age, what I would do is I would bring a stack of, sanitary wipes that they sell them in Israel. They come out about this big, and you wipe them on the furniture or whatever, and it takes down kills 99% of the germs. So I would go around wiping down all the counters and the desktops and the stands and all the drawer handles and the doorknobs and the closet handles and the stuff in the bathroom that you would touch. And I would make sure the linen was fresh, which it probably would be. And that type of thing, But that's the reality of, the hotels. So the rich like to get out. But they have everything they need. They don't, Trump doesn't say, ooh, I wish I could get another house, He's got so many, he doesn't need any more. A lot of these people are that way. The kingpins, and they got all the houses and the cars and the servants and the boats and the yachts and the planes that they want. They got all that they want. There's a thing like too much, So they don't want a war. What are they going to get out of a war? Power. All right. Now there's some that want more power, and that's why they go for the war. They have transcended above materialism. They got all the jewelry. They got everything, okay? They don't get up in the morning and say, oh, I wish I had this. Oh, I wish I had that. They got multiple chefs working in their houses. They get food flown in from all over the world, all kinds of crazy foods. I heard a guy tell a story, a yacht charter guy, that they had a woman that used to charter the yacht, and she had cases of Evian water delivered to the yacht, but not the big bottles, the little ones, the personal bottles. And she would take the Evian water and have the bathtub filled up with Evian water and take a bath in Evian water. Now, how the heck did she warm it up escapes me, unless she didn't bother, she just used cool water. Or maybe she put the bottles in a microwave first. I don't know. But how much does something like that cost? A lot. You know? I don't know what it, to fill a bathtub up with the bottles, it costs $100, $200. Take a bath. They don't care. They got more money coming in every day from their investments than they got going out, even with their sick lifestyle. So they don't care. Not only are they operating with preservation of wealth, they're on a positive, so they're making extra money every month, and they got more. They're in generational wealth, so they just go around starting to think of ways to lavish themselves. There's people that take baths in milk and cream and stuff like that, People take baths in crazy things. I mean, if you read about it, I don't know why they do it. I don't think it does anything, but they do it. Maybe it just makes them feel good that they're spending all this money. Or maybe they think that there's toxins in the water and stuff like that, which I doubt there are. But the ships generally, they're called, I don't know, what reconstitute. They take seawater and convert it into regular water. What some yachts do, the smaller yachts, they don't have the ability to convert to seawater. So what a lot of these people will do is they'll take the ocean water and they'll fill the swimming pool with it. And they'll swim in that, and then they have storage for fresh water, or more likely they can reconstitute or convert the ocean water to fresh water, but they can only do so many gallons a day. So the people will take a shower, they'll have a switch for ocean water, and they'll wash up with the soap and water with the ocean water, and then they'll switch to fresh water and rinse all the salt water off it. So that goes on too. But the ultra-rich don't have to worry about that. They got all the fresh water they want. Normally you would think that's good enough, but I don't know. So they don't really want a war unless they want to go after power. Now, the people like Stallone, they're not going to get any more power from going to war. They just don't want war. Schwarzenegger, Stallone, Matthew McConaughey, all the other big names, the singers, the entertainers, the directors, the producers, the actors, they're not going to get any benefit out of it. The war just jeopardizes them, their life, limb, and their family, and their lifestyle. Putin's got multiple mansions, dashes, multiple jets, multiple yachts. What's Putin going to get out of a war? Well, he wants power. He wants reputation, name. He doesn't necessarily say, oh, I want to, get rich and be a millionaire so I could buy a $3 million wristwatch and an $800,000 car. He's got all that crap. They grow tired of that quickly. It's not that rewarding. They grow tired of it. So, you see, Russia and America and Iran could have a battle in Syria, and it's sort of like a satellite war. Iran, Russia, and America don't get hurt in their homeland, yet they could have a nice fight. And it destroys Syria, and there's a scripture for that. Damascus, which is the capital of Syria, shall be a ruinous heap. So it may go down this way. And the fighting is not lightweight now, it's building up. So if Russia starts putting jets in there and attacking American positions, boy, oh boy, I don't think NATO would be activated. Hello? Oh, okay. Everything okay with the car? Did you hear me? I guess she went back out. Then I don't think it would activate NATO because they didn't attack America, homeland America. It was an attack on American troops in Syria, which Syria doesn't want them there to start with, and America's not at war with Syria, or are they? Has America invaded Syria? Well, let me ask you a question. If China put troops inside America, let's say China decided to go into Texas, and they put 800 or 900 troops in Texas and built a base and brought missile launchers and artillery and stuff in and built bunkers and stuff like that, would America say that China's invading America, even though China's not actively attacking America? Of course, they would treat it as an enemy invasion and use deadly force to repel it and destroy it, right? No doubt. So has America invaded Syria by using those same standards? Yes. Did America declare war against Syria? Not that I know of. So because of this, I don't think that America can activate NATO Article 5 and call the other NATO countries in to help them. If Russia attacks them inside Syria. What if Russia just gives some of their advanced jets to Syria, takes some kerosene and gets the Russian logos off of it, spray prints the Syrian flag or logo on it, has some pilots that are Russian put on Syrian uniforms and start attacking America? A little far-fetched. What if Russia just gives Syria some planes and lets Syrian pilots fly them? Well, that's sort of more kosher in terms of the standards of war, because Syria has every right to repel an enemy invasion. Nobody under international law is going to say no.
DHL arrived yet?
I have not, no.
Okay.
It seems that when we have chats, they get deleted. Okay. My email address no longer seems to appear in the chat. I'm switching to all messages. It's still not there. So somebody is coming along and deleting messages out of the chat. How, I don't know, or who, or what, or where, or why. But take the proper action, you know what I mean. Okay, so could it be a technical glitch? Yeah, I guess so. But I'm suspicious. What if Syria really takes off? What happens? I don't know. But the other thing America is doing is very unusual. No, it's not unusual, but it's very dangerous. They have several warships in the Persian Gulf. No aircraft carriers, though. Designed to stop Iranian piracy of merchant marine vessels. I would call it piracy. And Iran is saying that they've formed a group with 8 other countries including India and Pakistan, that are going to send ships and they're going to patrol the Persian Gulf to protect it from problems. Well, Iran's the problem. They're not going to protect it from themselves. Will countries like India still continue with Iran in this venture in the Persian Gulf when they know they're going to run against America? No, I don't think they will. So America is sending naval vessels there to rescue merchant marine ships from the clutches of Iran, who likes to board them, bring them into port, and they can arrest the crew, keep them as potential terrorists or slaves or whatever. They couldn't keep them as slaves, but steal the load, steal the ship, whatever the Iranians are going to do. And they could discriminate, look for ships that are tied to America or American companies, look for ships tied to Israel or Israeli companies or Israelis, and pick on those. So America's not particularly interested in letting Iran get away with this any longer. It's been done multiple times and they don't want to hear it. So if the ships call for help, American Navy vessels will show up, which Iran could probably handle, but it would be in a bad way. The way they would have to handle it is the swarm attack with drones, flying drones, the swarm attack the American Navy vessels, which is no mean feat, and America is going to go nuts, and they may start attacking Iran Navy vessels. And that might be an outright declaration of war, and America may just say, no, we're at war with Iran, which Iran doesn't want to see. Iran doesn't want to see any troops from foreign powers invading their country. Could the United States invade Iran easily? Would they not? Would they attack their military installations and other strategic things other than killing population centers? Yeah. Would they kill soldiers? Nah, probably not just for the heck of it, but they blow up military bases, they blow up airstrips, Navy bases, stuff like that. A Pearl Harbor type attack. They wouldn't do an occupation. Why the heck would they ever want to do that? I don't know. They did it in Iraq, though. Maybe they would, but I would think they wouldn't. But if they want to effect a regime change, they would have to do an occupation. And I don't think they're going to do that. I doubt it. So, this too has tremendous potential to explode. Erdogan is fighting in Iraq against the Kurds. That has potential to get out of hand. Turkey is in NATO, and if they want to retaliate against him in NATO, then he can invoke Article 5. Now that's bad enough. Now we got North Korea provoking South Korea and Japan. North Korea can be a real problem for America, Japan, and South Korea. Why? Because the leader's crazy. He has a substantial military presence, lots of troops, and he has lots of older equipment, older tanks, older planes, lots of artillery and missile launchers that are not so old, that are pretty up to standards. So he's raised his armies to hate America and Americans. And it's child's play for him to invade South Korea. He has a common land border with them. He does not need planes. He does not need aircraft. He doesn't need nothing. They can walk in. America has many bases in this Pacific region on land. America has shifted its wartime defensive posturing to land bases. With a land base, you got planes, you got helicopters, you got soldiers, you got missiles, you got bunkers to hide from the enemy. So I think America would rather see the war with China take place with using, Air Force equipment versus Navy equipment. Worried about big drone attacks, swarm attacks. 15,000 drones were just recently ordered by China. And I'm sure they want to rush delivery from Iran. They're buying them from Iran. That's a lot of drones. Does America have that many? Oh, more probably. Would Israel have that many? I don't know, but we got a lot. Israel would have all they need, let's put it that way. So, if the fighting goes down, would America send big aircraft carriers over to the Pacific? Yeah, probably 2. I don't think 3, but maybe. And each one would probably have about 8 escort vessels, plus submarines. So they would probably have about 20 to 26, 27 naval vessels over there. If they had several aircraft carriers near each other, I don't mean half a mile away, 20 or 30 miles or something, it would be difficult to take them out. Because of all the aircraft. You have a collection of 250, 300 aircraft amongst 3 aircraft carriers. So they could have airplanes flying a 200-mile perimeter 24/7, several. I mean, they could have, 4 or 5 planes from each aircraft carrier flying a 200-mile perimeter is probably all they need. So if any enemy aircraft enter this perimeter, they could take them down with the air-to-air missiles, probably very effectively. Or call coordinates in and have surface-to-air missiles take them down with both. And they would be able to pick up naval ships. And America feels rather confident, and probably correctly so, that they could take out Chinese naval vessels with an attack from the air more cost effectively with less risk than they can using naval vessels. China's economy is in terrible condition now. And that is one of the biggest war drums that ever exists. When a country like this is facing a collapsing economy, they're going to get into war because it builds everything up. It builds up stuff economically. And what I think China's after is the technology in South Korea, Japan, and Taiwan. They don't want to blow the place up and just laugh and say, hey, we taught them a lesson. The place is smoldering, you know. No, that's not what they're trying to do. What they're trying to do is not necessarily what they're going to achieve. But what they're trying to do is find a way to take these places over, leaving the people intact and the buildings intact, so they can have the engineers and technical people of the country continue to work in these factories. So if China can walk away with, you know, Hyundai and Samsung and Kia, LG, and other factories in South Korea, it's a great score for China and North Korea. Maybe they'll use North Koreans to run it, but initially they need the South Korean population to continue working in these centers. So it would be a real fiasco, like Nazi Germany occupying France and wanting these people to go to work in factories making weapons for Hitler. It's going to be a real... They're not going to be making weapons for North Korea, but they'll be making products, and China will try to sell them, probably to the other BRICS countries, for however long they can get away with that. Now the same thing goes on with Japan. Japan's got Sony and Toyota and Datsun and I don't know what else, you know, lots of high-tech stuff there. Toshiba, Nikon. And now comes Taiwan with the largest chip manufacturing company in the world, and other high-tech manufacturing and factories over there. So this is what China is going for. So that's why I say I don't think they're going to take 25,000 soldiers and parachute them into Taiwan. You know, parachute down artillery and rocket launchers and drive ships to the shore and unload all kinds of tanks and stuff and start rolling through Taiwan, blowing the joint up. What good does it do China to inherit a smoldering Earth Taiwan with starving, injured, sick people? What are they going to do with the place? It's worthless to them. What do they need it for? So that's why I think this blockade is their game plan. Blockade Taiwan with a bunch of Navy ships, 9 to 12, aircraft carriers included, and fly planes from the carriers and from the mainland, which is only about 100 miles away. So what the heck big trip is that? For a big jet, that's nothing. 100 miles, a few minutes, boom, it's there, you know. Now what happens if America's ships show up? Let's say America sends 2 aircraft carriers over there with a total of, you know, 570 planes. Whoa, that's advanced jets. China can't handle that. They can't. And they're gonna send at least 2 or 3 submarines that are gonna be nuclear attack submarines, probably 4. That's a nightmare for China. These are gonna be very heavily stealthed submarines. then their job's going to be to destroy the naval blockade if they start fighting with America. Then comes the escort vessels, which will probably be 16, which are missile cruisers and destroyers. Now this whole big flotilla shows up over there during the blockade. Blockade's going to take, to break Taiwan down, at least 60 days, I figure, 45 anyway. All these ships show up, right? What's China going to do? Stay there? They're going to look up in the sky and they're going to see what I would say is called like an air wing, where you'll see 20 or 30 American fighter jets flying in formations over them. F-35s, F-16s, all kinds of stuff like that. What are they going to do? See, Russia and China may attack America with Iran and lose. They may lose. And that's what brings on the Jeremiah 50-51 war. They lose. Okay? America's beefing up Taiwan now. And Taiwan's got a powerful punch in its own right, too. So they got anti-ship missiles in Taiwan now, lots of them, and they're going to start launching those in swarm attacks at the Chinese vessels, the Navy vessels, during the blockade. I'll be back in a minute. Take a quick break. I've been going down for 2 days. Okay. Now, what is Chief doing over here? Are you supervising, Chief? Huh? Are you a supervising Pekingese now? You probably are. All right. Let me pull this over without breaking anything. Yeah. Okay. Now let's put alpha-proof it. Okay. Now you guard, Chief. Make sure we don't get invaded. We could have brontosaurus attacks. You never know. Okay. So China's desperate. I'm telling you, I'm putting videos up on my Telegram, tons of them. They're on YouTube. And I got tired of putting them up. I put so many up, I stopped. How many can you put up? You know, enough's enough. Car plants are closing. They got huge, huge fields of electric vehicles that didn't sell, just sitting there rotting. Cities are empty because there's no foreigners. I mean, people aren't working, foreclosing of mortgages, and it's a mess. Banks keeping people's money and not letting them take the withdrawals. People expatriating out of China with lots of money. That's a war drum. Japan was having trouble in World War II. Hitler had trouble, and he went to war. You know, it happens. America has economic trouble, but not like Russia and not like China. Who's putting sanctions on America? Nobody. Oh, Russia and Iran, maybe, but I mean, that's more comical than anything else, you know. So, yeah, it's a huge war drum. Communism usually doesn't work very well. Duh. And China's sort of learning that lesson. Although they've really gone more into socialism than communism. But they're into totalitarian control, just like Russia with Putin. And Iran is into totalitarian control. I don't know what you call Iran. Do you call it a democracy? Do you call it a caliphate? Do you call it a dictatorship? I don't know what to call it. I don't know what it started at a revolution in '79. And they confiscated people's property that were living outside of Iran and stuff like that. But anyway, it's been a long time ago. 45 years or close to it. So you might actually see this war happen, and Russia, Iran, China, Belarus, Cuba, Venezuela, and assorted other nutcase countries, probably very few, may join in to help the axis of China, Russia, and lose. Maybe not. You know, we never would have thought. We thought Russia would walk all over Ukraine. Look what happened. Oh yeah, but that's different. We backed Ukraine. Yeah, okay, so what? This could be different too, maybe for another reason. Will this, if this fight does go down, and it looks like it's a question of when, not if, what will it do to America? It's certainly going to weaken it. America's going to run out of munition supplies. It may make it to knock off these other guys, but they're going to run out of supplies. This will be a massive fight, you know. Now, China and Russia may be able to dish it out. This may not be Jeremiah 50:51. This might be just Jeremiah 30:11, where he annihilates the nations that he expelled the Jews into. And America may survive this. And then will come the second Exodus, and by the time the second Exodus is happening, when you see that, you know America is going to get whacked. Now, Will America get whacked before the second Exodus? I don't see why or how, because it would be difficult for them to get out, and that's not really anything I think that's going to happen. God is in the business of redeeming and restoring Israel today in these times. He's not in the business of knocking it down and punishing it like he was when Yeshua was here. Now, look, there was a period of flourishment. Well, flourishment? No, that's not English. Flourishing. Let's read real quick. Acts 2. What verse? Probably around 30. No, I think it's too bright. I gotta turn the monitor down. It's blinding. Okay. Acts 2, what verse? We're in Acts 2:41. Then they that gladly received his word were baptized, and the same day there were added unto them about 3,000 souls. That's a lot, considering populations back then were much small. Oh, I gotta put these glasses on. The glare of the screen is bothering my eyes. Wait a second, I gotta disentangle. Okay, yeah, that's much nicer. Okay, and they continued steadfastly in the apostles' doctrine, and that's the true gospel, and fellowship, and in breaking of bread, and in prayer. Breaking of bread is Jewish talk. They'll say, oh, we got to break bread together. And it means to have a meal together. And fear came upon every soul, and many wonders and signs were done by the apostles. So the people were fearing them. And the apostles were preaching the word, and signs following were happening. And now what about me doing that in here? Well, I don't know how you do signs and wonders over the internet. I'm still working on that one with the Lord. And all that believed were together and had all things common. See, that's, of course, all these things are completely foreign to the churches forever. They've never had these things in the churches. These were the early believers. These were Messianic Jews that were having congregations, not churches. And these were set up and managed by the apostles, which is the way the congregations are supposed to be done. There are no apostles operating right now, haven't been for a long time. And sold their possessions and goods and parted them to all men, as every man had need. Sound like any church or messianic congregation you ever saw? I don't know. And they, continuing daily with one accord in the temple, and breaking bread from house to house, did eat their meat with gladness and singleness of heart. They had no variance, they had no seditions or divisions, they had no heresies or cults. They were all following the apostles' doctrine, praising God and having favor with all the people, And Jehovah added to the church, which is not the correct word, it's ecclesia, which means they're called out from ones, the assembly or congregation daily, such as should be saved, predestination. So there you see that. So there was about a generation, I figure. 63 AD is when I think the punishing of Hosea 6:1 and 2 began. He gave them a generation because they were followers of Yeshua and apostles, and he didn't want to punish them. I don't fully understand his motives and reasoning, but he didn't want to punish them, so he gave it about a generation, give or take, to 63 AD. A generation is usually about 40 years. Now, if you say 63, does that mean Yeshua was operating in 23 AD, as they call it? Look, I don't know. They say that it was around 30 AD when he died. He was about 30 years old. Look, maybe it was 23. Is that talking Gregorian calendar to you and not biblical? Okay, my wife did not see the new moon last night. There was a report from a very unreliable person who hates Yeshua and doesn't let the name of Yeshua or Jesus be used in their site. So that's not a reliable source. Somebody else said this, or so I'm going to have to get into this deeper, but it appears that there was people saying this, or my wife didn't see it from the Galilee, and we don't know. One of the sources who said it, that they saw it is a liar, not an honest person, so I wouldn't depend on that. Okay. And an antichrist opposed to Yeshua, so that's the meaning of antichrist. Okay, so we don't rely on them. So it could be that in 63 AD, the Romans came and surrounded Jerusalem, attacked, and started killing people. And that could have very well been the time when they saw the armies surrounding and they split. They got out of town, which they were told to do. And there was also a persecution in Jerusalem, and the believers left. Only the apostles stayed. So they pretty much, I think, got out. Now the question is, now we got Herzog, the president of Israel, who's independent of Netanyahu. Netanyahu cannot fire him. He does not have the authority of Netanyahu at all, not even close. But yet Biden calls him over there. Is this to plot and plan how they're going to get rid of Netanyahu? It seems to me yes. Biden, as in his intelligence people, wouldn't be stupid and understand that the ability for the Israelis to monitor conversations to America from Herzog would probably go through the same secure lines that Netanyahu uses and could be tapped. So I think they wanted Herzog there in person because they probably correctly feel quite confident that Israel's not going to be able to eavesdrop on the White House, the Pentagon, the CIA, and NSA, and all that. So they probably did that. What is Biden going to do? Well, I expect it would be a political assassination, not a literal one. I don't know what form it will take, but they're telling Israel that Netanyahu is going to create damage that's not reparable in the relationship between America and Israel. What they're really afraid about is the settlements and the housing, building more housing in the settlements, the West Bank, Samaria and Judea, which the media calls the West Bank. So Netanyahu being jealous of Herzog there and probably being scared, called Biden up on the phone, and they had what appears to be, from the reports, a cordial phone conversation. Netanyahu told Biden that he was going to delay or put off any new housing stuff in the West Bank until next year, January 2024, to make Biden happy. Now they know he actually said that. They got it recorded, I believe. Well, they're pretty convinced it happened. So the ultra-Orthodox media caught wind of this, and they started bellyaching, apparently, because they want housing in the West Bank, particularly United Torah Judaism, Shah's party probably also, Ben Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich also want this. So I think there were phone calls made immediately to Netanyahu reminding him that if he goes and breaks the coalition agreements and does not allow the West Bank housing to go up and approved and all that. Now remember, Bezalel Smotrich is talking about 250,000 new houses there. This would have Biden crazy. Go crazy. Biden will go crazy over this. But this is what their intention is, and they told Netanyahu that if he reneges on this, they're going to do a vote of no confidence on him. So now if there's no coalition, they break the coalition, Netanyahu's facing going to jail on his 3 active criminal cases with the trial proceeding while he's seated as prime minister, which is fairly absurd. They're doing something like that to Trump, but Trump's not a seated president right now, he's a civilian. So Netanyahu gets scared and backs out of what he told Biden. So now Biden is sitting there thinking, this Netanyahu is a schmuck and a half. He tells you one thing, and then a few hours later he changes it. You can't listen to this guy. You can't do anything with this guy. He's nuts. And Biden, I think, finally got the idea that this is the true picture of Benjamin Netanyahu. He's a liar, a cheat, a scoundrel, a deceiver, and a worthless individual. So the question is, what can Biden do? Well, they already stopped the visa-free travel with Israel to America that Netanyahu was trying to get for the Israelis. They stopped that. And they don't want him doing it because he's basically going to be wanting to fill the West Bank up. His coalition wants to fill the West Bank up with Jews, Israelis, immigrants moving to Israel, and to the tune of 250,000 additional in a year, or very quickly. And they're already budgeting, they already did budget, I think, new roads, and they're going to put the railroad in there and build the infrastructure. And this is absolutely the opposite of a two-state solution. And they're bearing down on the Palestinians, the terrorism and so forth. Now, Ben-Gvir and Smotrich got some good ideas, but the problem is they don't know how to execute them, and they make deals with the wrong people, like the ultra-Orthodox. You can't make deals with them. So we read in Jeremiah 50 and 51 that there's some things that happened that it could. Babylon, I'm in Jeremiah 51:7. Babylon hath been a golden cup in Jehovah's hand, that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore the nations are mad. They're all crazy. They're not making any sense. Things aren't making sense. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Suddenly, that's the key word, suddenly. It's 6597 is the word patone. And it instantly is a better translation, or suddenly. It happens fast. Suddenly fallen. Fallen is 5307. The fall, the fall. To, let's see what good translation is. To fall or cast down and destroyed. Destroyed is 7665. Shabbat, broken pieces, break, wreck, crush. Burst, broken down. So Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her. Take balm for her pain. If so be she may be healed. We're going to try to heal her, the people who live in the border of Babylon, America. We would have healed Babel, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let's turn your back on her, so to speak, and let us go, every one, into his own country. These are the people that are the workers there. Agricultural workers from Mexico, taxi drivers from Afghanistan or Pakistan. They go back to their own country. And let us go, everyone, into his own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even unto the skies. Jehovah hath brought forth our righteousness. Has brought forth our righteousness. Come, and let us declare in Sion the work of Jehovah Elohim. So they're saying, let's go to Israel and declare what he's done. Make bright the arrows, gather the shields. Jehovah hath raised I'm skipping around here. Now I'm in verse 13. O thou that dwellest upon many waters, abundant in treasure, thine end is come, and the measure of thy covetousness. Many waters. There's 8,000 rivers, probably about that many lakes. You got the Great Lakes, which are almost like oceans or seas. You got Pacific, Gulf of Mexico, or the Atlantic. You know. Then they say, oh no, it's Mecca. What has Mecca got? Nothing. There's no water there. Or Medina, they don't got any water. Or the Vatican, they don't got any water either. What do they got? Holy water. Maybe they got 20, 50 gallons in stock. Come on. It's America. Jehovah of hosts had sworn by himself, saying, surely I will fill thee with men and with caterpillars, as with caterpillars, and they shall lift up a shout against thee. He hath made the earth by his power. He hath established the world by his wisdom, and hath stretched out the heavens by his understanding. When he uttereth his voice, there is a multitude of waters in the heavens, and he causeth the when he uttereth his voice, there is a multitude of waters in the heaven. So, and this is on the other side of the firmament. And he causes the vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth. He maketh lightnings with rain, and he bringeth forth the wind out of the treasures. Every man is brutish by his knowledge. Every founder is confounded by the graven image. Every man is brutish by his knowledge. Every founder is confounded by the graven image. For his molten image is falsehood, and there is no breath in it. They are vanity, the work of errors. In the time of their visitation they shall perish. The portion of Yaakov, which is Israel, is not like them, for he is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. Jehovah of armies is his name. Thou art my battle axe and weapons of war. That's Israel. For with thee I will break in pieces the nations, and with thee will I destroy the kingdoms. And he goes on with who he's going to destroy. And I will render unto Babylon and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea all their evil that they have done in Zion, in your sight, saith Jehovah. Saith Jehovah, which destroyeth all the earth, which destroyeth all the earth, and I will stretch out my hand upon thee, and roll thee down from the rocks, and I will make thee a burnt mountain. Prepare against her the nations. What the heck is this stupid thing doing? Prepare against her the nations with the kings of the Medes, the captains thereof, and all the rulers thereof, and all the land of his dominion. And the land shall tremble in sorrow, for every purpose of Jehovah shall be performed against Babel, to make the land of Babel a desolation without an inhabitant. It's incorrect to call it Babylon. It's Babel, that's what the word says, which means confusion. The English just made it into Babylon for whatever reason, I don't know why. For every purpose of Jehovah shall be performed against Babel, to make the land of Babel a desolation without an inhabitant. The mighty men of Babel have forborne to fight, they have remained in their holds. Their might hath failed, they became as women. They have burned her dwelling places, her bars are broken. One post shall run to meet another, and one messenger to meet another, to show the king of Babel that his city is taken at one end, and that the passages are stopped, and the reeds they have burned with fire, and the men of war are and I will render unto, now listen to this, Jeremiah 51:24. And I will render unto Babel and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea all their evil that they have done in Zion, that's Israel, in your sight, speaking to the people that are going to come to Zion and tell us about it. So this is a sign here that the Americans are going to do some evil. What is the word evil? 74:51. Ra'ah. It means bad or evil. Let's see what Strong's calls it. It could be distress, injury, wrong, evil, wrong, injury. In your sight. The word for sight is ayin, which means something to do with the eye. So it means sight in your eye. I mean, it's saying you're going to see it in Zion, and Zion is 67:24 at Sion, which is parched place, and it often could refer to as Jerusalem. It's the capital, refers mostly to Jerusalem, saith Jehovah. So there's definitely a scripture, Jeremiah 51:24. I will render unto Babylon and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea, which is the old Babel, the Chaldeans they were called, they were witches and soothsayers. It's referencing the daughter of Babylon. All their evil that they have done to Zion. Well, when did the daughter of Babylon do any evil? Israel, the old Babylon did. So is he paying back to Babylon for what they did? Well, it's unlikely. because it says, in your sight, saith the Lord. So in your sight is referencing the people at the time this happens, they're becoming visual. So I have to stand a little corrected of myself and say, Jeremiah 51:24 actually does show something like this happening. And I think Biden's in just the mood to do things too, because they do not want to see Ben-Gvir and Smotrich getting rid of the Palestinians and making Israel a safe place and occupying the West Bank. And then eventually they're going to dismantle Gaza of weapons. Now, probably Hezbollah too. But before they do this, they have to change the judicial system so the Supreme Court can't stop them. And they'll probably also try to go against the Christians and the Catholics and maybe Messianics too. Don't know that. Maybe not. It's not a threat to them in the sense of, the Palestinians, but it's an axe to grind that they have. Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, saith Jehovah, which destroyed all the earth, and I will stretch my hand upon thee. So they do actually get a chance to do some evil in Zion. And I'll roll thee down from the rocks, and they shall not take of thee a stone, blah, blah, blah. Prepare against her the nations with the king of the Medes. So I believe this is a result of what they're trying to do. What they try to do, or they do bad things to Israel, then all these things come on them. That's their destruction. I think that's their final curtain call before they get destroyed, is doing bad stuff to Israel. Then it's over for them, the DLB. And the land shall tremble and sorrow, for every purpose of Jehovah shall be performed against Babel, to make the land of Babel a desolation without habitant. All right, so there is some scripture to illustrate that we can expect Biden or America, or after Biden or whatever, to do some intervention here with the political thing, and that's Herzog over there. Building up in Syria troubles me because it's not walking distance, but car driving distance away. And America's putting advanced aircraft like F-35s and F-16s into the Middle East, and I don't say where, so they could definitely be getting parked in Israel. We have underground hangars that, of course, makes it near impossible to spot them, or impossible from the air. So you're getting my drift here, and the right-wing portion of it, well, the ultra-Orthodox are in the eyes of the Americans right-wing, and Ben-Gvir and Smotrich are frightening right-wing, so they're afraid because these entities are manipulating Netanyahu, so they're thinking regime change. Now, that normally means politically, but in this case, they may be so upset that they're going to try something else. We're just going to have to see. That's going to be the final straw for the DLB then. So I hope you guys are appreciating this. I don't think there's very many people in the world that are aware of this. Okay, a couple of toss requests here for Mike, toss, toss. Toss for RC, Romeo Charlie, toss, Romeo Charlie, RC. Toss, BG, Bravo Golf. Toss for BG Bravo Golf course. I don't have prayer requests. You can feel free to send them in if you want to. My email address is at the bottom of the description box. It's Israel Giving with the number 7, Israel Giving one word with the digit 7 at gmail.com. You can contact me and send in prayer requests or post them in the chat. They're more private if you email them in. Give me the initials of the person you want to have the prayer request for, and we also can do costs. Guys, this stuff's in your Bible. I didn't make it up. And I didn't come like Santa Claus and go down your chimney last night and write it in the Bible. I give you my word, I didn't do that. All right. I'm Moshe. Please pray for me and my wife Rivka. Pray for our peace, safety, protection, joy, healing of our bodies. Especially pray for this growth thing I have that's going away and some brown skin over here. Pray for that to clear up. I think it's being healed. I'm quite sure. But my wife's upset. So please pray for it to go away quickly, healed quickly. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And start praying about you and the daughter of Babylon and getting out. Start praying. You'll know how to pray. Think about it. You'll pray. I don't want to tell you how to pray. You pray. You'll figure it out. Pray for me to be able to be at peace, to have peace and joy, living in these circumstances here in Israel. I'm not going to keep trying to change the circumstances. I'm just going to try to get the Lord to make me peaceful in these circumstances with the heat and the house and all that stuff, okay? And the high cost of living. We pray for that. So thank you for those that are giving offerings, and please pray for our finances, and pray for better videos. Now, this is a real powerful video. This is like a real punch, okay? You know more than many people do, but the many people are very few are ever going to believe you. Even though it's in the Bible, it's in the Old Testament, the Jews would believe that, but the rabbis teach them you can't understand prophecy unless you're a prophet or a rabbi or something. It's nonsense like that. So, you know, you should try to spread it. I gave it to you on the silver platter. It's right there. And I think we're getting closer. Biden is peeved at Netanyahu. And he's peeved at Smotrich and Devere, but he's not striking at them. He's trying to cut the head off the snake, and that's Netanyahu. Now, the next thing we might see is Gantz or Yair Lapid come over there. They got to have a replacement. Now, the unclean spirits are working hard in this area too, I believe. So keep your tossed salad flowing towards old Benji. And I posted, if you go to my Telegram, I posted a new, very useful audio file on spiritual warfare. It's on my Telegram, or you can just go directly to my spiritual warfare Telegram. And it's, like I say, nice and useful, very useful. And this is exciting, and don't get bummed out, because all things work to good for those who love the Lord, and He'll deliver you from the wrath to come. That doesn't mean a rapture, but you'll be delivered. Delivered is delivered. Forget about it. You'll be fine. Don't worry about it, okay? And that's all, folks. All right. I'm out. Thank you, guys. Oh, I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach.